You wrote an open letter. You and a bunch of fellow Congress members, a group of fellow congressmen, wrote an open letter to President Trump encouraging him to nominate Judge Amy Coney Barrett. I am happy that you did. You want to tell us why you did that?
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. First of all, I want you to know that Amy Coney Barrett has actually already been vetted. She's been voted on by the Senate before. Her judicial record is exemplary. This is a person who has not a smirch on her personal character, but also she is an accomplished person. She's got a big family, a lot of kids. She's adopted 2 children. She and her husband are just fabulous people, and she'll be an excellent asset on the court. She finished number 1 in her law school class. So this is just an absolute remarkable lady. I actually happen to know someone who dated her at one time, and I was talking to him. He says, oh yeah, he says this person, Amy Coney Barrett, is basically unassailable. She is just fabulous, a marvelous person, great. She'll do great on the court.
Andy, that's the specific. Let's talk about the general for a second. The Democrats are making a great deal of hay. They're even threatening and attempting some form of political and street blackmail, if you will, that if the president nominates, which he will, and the Senate affirms, which we hope they will, his choice, assuming it's someone of Amy Coney Barrett's caliber or Amy Coney Barrett, that this is an inappropriate act, that this is not the standards Republicans have set for themselves, that this is a political power grab from an opportunity that shouldn't have arisen. Would you know exactly what I'm talking about? I wonder if you would just make the case, as we've been doing here. I'd love to hear it from your voice.
Yeah, there's so much we could talk about, but I'm just going to sum this up very simply and succinctly. There's a vacancy on the United States Supreme Court. The Constitution has set and established the way that you fill that vacancy. It isn't that you wait until a lame duck session. It isn't until you wait till after somebody gets there or doesn't get there. It's very simple. The president nominates, the Senate votes. That's it. And there is nothing untoward or irresponsible about the president doing that now. I mean, we could go in a lot of detail about it, but I'm just going to tell you very simply, he has the authority to do it, but not just the authority. He has the obligation to do it. And the Senate then has to make its determination, and they have the authority and the obligation to make a determination whether they want to fill that seat now, whether they want to confirm or not. And I think it's perfectly appropriate right now.
I was on the other side of a microphone the other day, Andy, being interviewed by, I guess it was the Canadian Broadcast Corporation. And they said, boy, you conservatives, you really take those judicial nominations seriously, don't you? You really think they matter a lot, don't you? And I said, well, of course, because we have a Constitution, we think that matters a lot. But the fact is, if you look at the way Democratic nominees are handled versus the way Republican nominees are handled, it's not so long ago that we went through the Brett Kavanaugh experience. I think the argument could be made that the left takes it in some respects even more seriously. Don't you think? Because this is actually their last readout and precinct of getting the politics, the political outcomes they want that lose with the common sense of American people via legislation and proposition?
Yeah, you're 100% right. The way I've actually been advocating this for a long time, the Democrats have trouble winning on their policies. Mm-hmm. That's why you're not seeing them actually talk much about their policies right now in the Biden campaign. They rely on the courts to liberally and with an activist mind to legislate from the bench, and that's why they're always talking about things like let's pack the bench, let's pack it, let's savage anybody that is nominated by a Republican, because they know that the way that they're going to implement their policies, and by the way, they're socialist and they're Marxist policies, is from the bench. And we've distorted what the Supreme Court's role is. We've basically ceded to them the position of a super legislative body. And that is not what was intended in the Constitution. And it is something that in the history of our country is a rather remarkable late development. It didn't happen till really late in the last century, and that's when you really saw advocacy go up, and that goes right at the hands of FDR. FDR threatened to pack the court unless they ruled in his favor, and actually the switch in time that saved nine is when justice moved over, when they were going to dismantle President Roosevelt's New Deal because it was not constitutional. And they switched and said it is constitutional, and that has changed this nation, everything from the bureaucratic state to how we view courts ever since then.
Andy, Chuck Schumer took to the, or talking to Andy Biggs, of course, and Chuck Schumer took to the Senate floor today to talk about how the effort is to stop the president from appointing another quote-unquote right-wing judge. It's really amazing where this country has put the set point when you think about what the left has done with the judiciary, what rights it has invented, what deviations from the Constitution it is engaged in, and they yet would call us right-wing. I would tell you, I think credibly, I mean, you're an attorney too, or ex or former or recovering, but I would tell you that today's Republican judicial appointments would have much more in common with the judicial appointments of people like FDR and Truman put on the bench. There's nothing right-wing about it. It's actually fairly common sense constitutionalism, but that they have really done a good job of changing, as I say, what the median or set point of this is on the right-left valence. They are the ones engaging in actual left-wing jurisprudence. We don't engage in any kind of political jurisprudence.
Right. No, I think that's right. I mean, think about it this way. Our Republican presidents want to nominate originalist, textualist, structuralist. In other words, people who actually look at the Constitution as a document that has meaning. The Democrats are not there, which is why you have a couple of members of the U.S. Supreme Court today nominated by Democrat presidents who believe that the international law supersedes the Constitution.
Yep.
And that's because they are appointing people that are political in nature. They have an agenda that they're trying to get. And that is the whole issue that divides us. The Republican nominees don't have an agenda per se, other than to read the Constitution and apply it to the case before it. The Democrats on the other side, they don't want to just interpret or apply the law. They want to interpret and expand the law, and they don't want to just limit it to the case before them, which is really, that's what stare decisis is. You take the case before you, you rule on that case, and then everybody else comes along and says, well, our case is different or our case is the same, and then it just builds up this historical record of determinations. They want to expand that and say things like, well, even though a previous case exists, we're going to expand it by taking into account what the International Criminal Court or the International Court of The Hague has said on this and apply that to not just this case, but all cases similarly situated.
Yeah.
And that really distorts what the court was meant to be. Of course. And I even think John Marshall would be absolutely astounded to see the prerogatives taken by the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yeah, no, he would, but Groucho Marx would be pleased. I'm thinking of his line, these are my principles. If you don't like them, I can find you new ones. It's as if Democrats on the court, liberals on the court said, this is our Constitution. If we can't find what we want in it, we'll find new ones. Andy Biggs, God bless you. Thank you for everything you do and are. Really appreciate you.
Thanks, Seth. Always good to be with you.
You betcha. Talk soon.